All right, Dan Orlovsky from ESPN sitting down with us now on Radio Row.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's going on?
We got nothing to talk about
You guys
when
are
it comes
boring,
to quarterbacks.
Yeah, boring time right now for you guys, huh?
Yeah.
As usual.
I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
What's it like being in your position where where like whatever you say in the mornings on ESPN, like Chicago reacts to it? Like, how much of that is a conversation when you guys are – not that you're trying to get the reaction, but just because you know in your mentions on Twitter or whatever, you're going to have to deal with Bears fans.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's important. Bears fans are – I mean, while they're very amazing individually, like, they're not all that different than a bunch of fan bases.
Yeah.
A lot of fan bases, if you say something that people don't like or agree with, they're going to jump on you in today's world. So – I don't do a good job of being aware of like the platform often. Sometimes I just think of myself as a normal person, and then sometimes I'll get reminded because of something I say or when I'm like, oh wow. And McAfee actually does a great job. He's like, yo, people actually they listen to what you say more than you think, Dan. So I try to be conscious of that, but I go about trying to do the very, very best job that I can be doing and convicted about. But Bears fans, I think at some points they've loved me and many points have hated me as well. So.
Well, as the anointed, some anoint me as the mayor of Bears Twitter. Adam ranks the president. So,
he shared some stuff with me.
It's refreshing to hear that other fan bases are like us, and
you're
we're not
alone.
on this.
You're not alone.
Yeah, okay, that's nice.
Is there a question, or you just want to state your?
He just wanted to lay his credentials down again.
That made me feel good.
Social media, man.
That made me feel good that we're not just this only toxic group out there.
All right.
Nice.
I have a question for Dan. So,
we're asking questions.
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Because you were very out there and supporting Justin and his talents. Where do you think he could be right now if he had been in the right situation versus where he is?
Oh, I think that if Justin went into a better situation that had structure and the offensive pieces around him and the offense that was built for him, I think he could be maybe a step below a Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen's obviously reached the pinnacle in the Super Bowl, and last year 2022 was an MVP season. I just think he's uniquely talented. I really do. And I'm not saying his game is flawless, but I think that if you look at all the quarterbacks that are playing at a relatively high and consistent level in the NFL and look at their traits, Justin has so many of those traits. Now, I don't know if he would get into that conversation of the Joshes and the Lamar and the Patricks, but I do think he would be a better player, at least perception-wise, than he is right now. And so, I mean, going into last year, I thought he was going to play at a remarkable level. And for a stretch of the season, I think he played really good. The first 5 or 6 games, not that. But here's my thing. When you get a guy that is talented in a way that is different than so many other quarterbacks, you have to call stuff around him that is different than you would with so many other quarterbacks. And I think there's 2 examples of that not happening in Chicago. That's frustrating for a person, who is a big nerd when it comes to the scheme of football.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. We can feel free to get into this because I always wonder if his weaknesses are attacking over the middle of the field
okay,
and not being exactly quick, let's say it, in getting the ball out. And I don't mean like holding out. I mean just like even when they're just trying to run perimeter screens.
Yeah.
Like for somebody it honestly gets frustrating sometimes because we're talking about somebody who's so athletically gifted and such a fast runner. It's like, how does this ball not come out quicker?
He's physically slower. As a thrower,
yes.
It's not a mental thing. It's not an information thing. It's not a processing thing. He is slow when it comes to throwing the football. So
can that be improved, I guess?
Yes.
And you're saying in terms of throwing motion or even beyond that?
No, it's a throwing motion thing. So I remember Justin was coming out. The draft was in Cleveland, right? And I remember I did a tape, and I got absolutely slaughtered for it because my one thing with Justin coming out physically was the elbow gets above the ball. And I was like, that takes longer to throw. Another person who did that was Carson Wentz. I was a big Carson Wentz guy as well. But the elbow got above the ball too consistently, and that takes time. And I tell people all the time, like 0.2 of a second in the NFL is freaking eternity, okay? But if you hold it at 2.4 seconds in comparison to 2.2. Defensive ends and guys are going to get to that. Can it be improved? Yes, but not that much. And even though he doesn't work the middle of the field that much, I would say I don't know if the scheme has promoted it that much. I don't know if they've had the humans to do it that consistently to have that person that was going to be that pass catcher over the field. In Justin's respect of it, Justin doesn't have a ton of different pitches. Justin can drive the ball down the field. That's why he's really good at throwing the ball down the field. But he doesn't have that. I was just doing this with Brock Purdy. Like, let's say this is running an in route, right? I'm Justin. This is defender. Here comes this in route. Well, if that defender's there on this play, I want to rip that in route. I can rip it. That's open there. Well, if this defender, 15 plays later, I'm on the same thing, and this defender's here, that's still open, but I can't drive that ball. I have to have some variance and touch to it. Justin doesn't have a high level of that just yet. I think that absolutely can be improved on. That's a mechanics thing. That's a rep thing. That's a seeing it thing.
Feel it.
Yeah, that can be improved on. Now, I don't know if you're ever going to get to that level where some guys are, that touch throwers, Joe and Brock. Patrick is one of them. But, I think that's one of the reasons why he hasn't worked the middle of the field consistently.
So let's talk about the scheme. I mean, you bring up schemes. So Shane Waldron comes in here. They've also got Kerry Joseph comes over from Seattle, Thomas Brown. It's the McVay coaching tree, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you think that would fit to Justin's strengths? And from Seattle, we've had some Seattle beat guys come on, and it's like mixed reviews, but national guys seem to really enjoy what Shane Waldron draws up. Yeah.
What I like about Shane is he's got to watch Sean, and Sean had to change offenses in L.A. He was the old school Shanahan stuff, and then the Super Bowl year, it was like, we can't do this anymore. We got to change it. Matthew's just a freakazoid. We can spread it out and throw it, and then they morphed it a little bit as the postseason went on. So I like that he saw adaptation. I think offenses that are putting quarterbacks under the center more, using multiple tight ends, tying things in together, that's best in football. I would have said that about Luke Getsy as well, though. And he didn't do that last year, specifically, again, on those first 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
So I think there's stuff about Shane's game that you like, or Shane's play calling that you like. I don't know if Justin's going to be the guy pulling the trigger for him either.
So we're talking to you, Dan, on Wednesday, February the 7th, late in the day after you've done 1,000 interviews, and we appreciate you making time for us. But just to put you on the spot at this moment, if you're the Bears, what are you doing with the amount of information that you have right now?
Yeah, I think I'm taking a quarterback. I don't know which one yet. I probably lean towards Caleb Williams. I've said all year I don't think he's the lock there. But I think I'm taking a quarterback. I think that because of everyone says, well, you reset the financial thing. How the Jets did that with Zach Wilson. How'd that turn out? So, it can't – you got to take the guy that you think is going to be the better player. I don't care about the money.
Agreed. Agreed.
Who cares? You think Buffalo regrets paying Josh Allen? No, I'll give him $1 gajillion. Or Baltimore with Lamar. So if you think that Caleb Williams is or is going to be a better player, take him. If you think that Drake May is, I don't care what happened with Mitchell Trubisky and is going to be, you take him. If you think Jaden Daniels, and so I think just because of the talent level that those guys have, and a little bit of again, I'm Team Justin. We probably have it, unless something radically changes with him. I don't know if he's going to become that much better of a player. There's a lot of beauty in the unknown with those college prospects.
Yep.
So you say you're leaning Caleb. I heard somebody say that the amount of throws Caleb's had in his college career, Justin didn't equal that amount of throws until his second year in the NFL.
Yeah, he's got a lot of reps.
Right, and that's what happens in this, Cliff Kingsbury, Lincoln Riley system. These guys get a lot of throws in college. So when you're talking about Justin Fields and the different types of throws he can make, when you look at Caleb Williams, talk about all
freak talent. I remember Caleb coming out of high school because he was part of the QB collective, which is again I think something that's attached to LaFleur and McVay. And I remember
Waldron's
watching.
Been a part of that too.
Correct, and I remember watching him throw in high school and being like, I'm a big throwing motion guy. I am. I for me, the quarterbacks that look just like, hey, you were when the first time you picked up a ball and threw it, it looked different than everybody around you. Caleb has that, and I've said he's the combination, and people take this and make it more than it is. He's style-wise, he's Josh, he's Lamar, and he's Patrick. And what I mean by that is this. He can do things physically like Patrick that make no sense. That you're like, dude, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Throws when I'm running full speed to my left and falling out of bounds, throwing it 30 yards on a dot. Not supposed to physically, that's not supposed to be done. He's a little bit like Lamar in the open field where you go, my goodness, you're the best athlete on the field, dude. You're making people look stupid in high-level college football. Lamar does it in the NFL. And he's a little bit like Josh where hey, bud, you don't have to throw the ball 45 yards downfield on first down and try to fit it in 3 guys. There's a wide open person 6 yards right there. And he is a big play hunter. You're going to have to coach that out of him. You're gonna, because he chases the big play all the time. Why? 1, the defense stunk at USC. You got to score. That's your mindset. 2, he's the best athlete on the field, so it's probably fun. 3, has it been demanded of him? Has it been demanded of him as a necessity? It will in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been calling it like you're going to have to coach him down a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
But it's better to pull him back than say sick him.
Exactly. Yeah, you played in the black and blue division. I mean, any stories from just Chicago or having to be,
Dude, yeah, I got a story. So it comes off of last week. So my daughter, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She's a maniac. And so sometimes she's a very aggressive little girl, great athlete. And so she'll mess around and she'll take my fingers and bend them. And so she'll try to bend my thumb. Now this thumb has got steel plates in it and pins. Ouch. So she was trying to do it this week and she was like, what happened? And I'm like, I got this, my rookie year. No, not my rookie year. Maybe my second or third year. We're playing at Chicago, and I have a play. This is with Tommy Harris and Alex Brown and
Spice Adams.
Straight lunatic.
Spice
you remember Mike Brown, the safety for Nebraska?
He's a legend.
Calvin Johnson's in the Hall of Fame, but we call a play, and it's a run play, and if the corner's off, I think it was Peanut or somebody, and I can take the ball and kick it out to Calvin, just go get 5 yards, bub. Well, corner's off. I go to pick it up and throw it to Calvin. Calvin's blocking, so I'm like, oh, crap. So I take off running, and as I take off running, Mike Brown is beelining for my soul. And this is when you could hit quarterbacks, and launches, and I just get shellacked by Mike Brown fumble, and my thumb got stuck in his helmet.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I just remember being like, well, that's not going to be good. That's one. And then my rookie year was the story. We were playing with Marcus Pollard. Joey Harrington was the quarterback. He threw a seam against Mike Brown. I thought he killed Marcus Pollard. Well,
if Mike Brown hadn't gotten hurt, I think the Bears might have won a Super Bowl. So
he was so good.
Mike Brown.
Those guys that played with him on that team really believe that if Mike Brown hadn't gotten hurt, they might have beaten the Colts. So
hey, you made all those guys look bad at the accuracy thing for the Pro Bowl. All the current quarterbacks.
It was a lucky day.
Nice work there.
It was a lucky day.
We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, we got to let you go.
Man.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Appreciate you guys. Good to connect.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
We all silly like the mayor.